so many introductions now. I'm like introductioned out. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Take a Stand online conference. This is an incredible event. I'm interviewing 35 amazing women who are all sharing their stories of triumph over trauma. And we're sharing these stories so that you know that there is hope and there is light at the end of the tunnel. So as you listen to the conversation with myself and Linda, you might have emotions bubbling up to the surface. You might feel uncomfortable, a little bit emotional. Please do take personal responsibility for how you're feeling and make sure that you connect with somebody who you can talk to, whether that is friends, family, your doctor, or if you're feeling in emotional distress, just pop down to your local A&E department, we call them in England, but your local emergency services, depending on where you are in the world. It's a natural part of trauma recovery and healing. It's not a smooth journey. It can be quite bumpy. We have all been there, so know that you are not alone. So welcome, Linda.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing your story, your personal story of triumph over trauma.
Gosh, where to start?
Yeah, a lot of people say that.
My trauma probably is very different from most of the ladies that have been sharing. My trauma had to do with personal health issues. In 2011, I had aortic dissection, and I don't know if any of you remember John Ritter, but that's what killed John Ritter. And it was kind of in the early stages of understanding what that was. And I was very blessed to survive that. But what it taught me was that I almost died without being able to tell the people I loved that day that I loved them. And what it did is it started me I call my mom every day. I've been doing that for 12 years. I call her every day to say I love you and to check in and see how she's doing. And I've had 3 open heart surgeries. But during that time, I had to give up the business that I loved. I had to completely change how I was doing things. They gave me a weightlifting limit of 5 pounds. You can't lift
Bag of
anything.
sugar.
Yeah.
I think it's a bag of sugar.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. You can't even lift a gallon of milk. So I went into deep depression. Worked a lot through that, but then in a 4-year period, me and my family lost 5 family members. And it was just like a sledgehammer of grief over and over and over. We lost my brother, and then almost a year to the day, my husband passed. And then the following year, his sister, and a few months later, his dad. And then the following year, my dad. And when we got through 2021, my son texted me and he said, we made it a whole year without losing someone. And that just was so overwhelming. With my illness, I spent 5 months in isolation, ICU. People couldn't see me unless they were gowned and masked, and this was before COVID. I had a superbug, and it tried to kill me, but it also made me supposedly infectious to everyone else around me. So I went 5 months without skin-to-skin contact.
Oh, that's hard.
It was. My husband got so that, and he told him, he says, I know. But he says, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to hold her hand, I'm going to kiss her forehead, and I'm going to talk to her before I gown up and glove up and all of that. He said she needs human touch. He was a very intuitive man. So when I came home, I didn't know how to interact with people. And I used to be very outgoing. And I came home, and once he passed, I spent Oh, I think I spent a good 8 months sitting on the corner of my couch. There's a big dent still in my couch where I just spent my days. And I didn't interact. I spent all my time on Facebook, and that's how I interacted with people, is I would touch base with them. And then my friend got divorced, and I had her move into my house because she had no place else to go. And she does gift baskets, and it's such a joyful thing. There's colored shred, there's beautiful things all over my house. And her moving in, she's like a sister to me. We've known each other for over 20 years. Her moving in pulled me out of my depression. And so after more than 10 years, I'm starting to feel like myself again. It's been a very weird, odd journey. One I wouldn't wish on anybody else, but I also wouldn't change any of it, because all of my experiences have made me who I am and brought me to where I am. And I'm not perfect, but I like who I am. And I think I've been brought to this place for a reason. So now it's time to go out and help others get through their weird journey, whatever that may look like.
Sounds like you've had a really hard time.
It was. There were days I literally, if I got out of bed, that's all I did. Didn't even get dressed, but I came down to my little dent in my couch, and I hid there. And then during the pandemic, we went down the Tiger King rabbit hole. That was really odd. I would not suggest anybody do that. That was such a bizarre story, but I started to feel more normal in comparison.
Is that because everyone was experiencing it and you'd already experienced it? Or was it something different?
I think because that story was so beyond my imagination, I thought, well, good heavens, nothing I went through was as weird or bizarre as that. I mean, no one's ever been hired to kill me or hired someone to kill someone else. Just not, it was a very bizarre story, and it just made me realize, number one, that I'm sure he glamorized a lot of that story just for value. But I started realizing that I was okay, and I was as normal as any person can be normal. I think normal is a very
Overrated.
It's almost a destructive definition.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because we don't all want to be the same. We are all unique.
Mm.
And what it taught me is that circumstances are just circumstances. How I respond to them is what's important. And so I've had to teach myself a whole new perspective on how to look at things so that I don't go down that rabbit hole of depression again. Because that was a very dark, scary place, and I don't want to ever go there again.
I think that from talking to people find it quite hard to understand what depression is and how it affects an individual.
Well, it's hard to describe because it's different for each person, I think.
Mm.
I mean, I've known people that have problems with depression and anxiety, and my vision of how it affected me was completely different than how it affected them. I think depression is kind of personal because what it does is it takes away your joy, and everybody's joy is personal.
Mm.
And so for me, it was the loss of the ability to do what I love to do in the way I love to do it, and to feel useful. I just didn't feel useful. I mean, with 5 pounds, I didn't feel like I could do anything. And I looked at going back to office work, but you lift stuff in an office. And most of it weighs more than 5 pounds. You got to fill the copier. My background was in computers, and so I used to do computer repair, and that was out. I couldn't be carrying. I mean, now laptops and stuff, but back then I couldn't be carrying desktops and those big honky dorky monitors and printers and the stuff I knew how to do. I didn't feel I could do. And that probably wasn't fully true, but for me to do it in a way that felt valuable, I didn't feel I could do that.
So it was a lot of profound change quite suddenly.
Yeah. Like I came out from that second surgery and they're like, we got to restrict, and at the time I was 52. And so he says, we got to keep you to 5 pounds. He says, I don't want to go in again. And it's kind of funny because my third surgery was last year. So that was 8 years after the second one. And when we went in to do the surgery, he was like, okay, this is the last time I'm opening you up. And he says, you seem to be indestructible. So he pretty much released me fully after that surgery because he'd gone in and repaired everything in here that needed. He says, I'm just gonna Tevlar everything so it can't shred. And that the nice thing is the Tevlar is much stronger than the aortic wall. So now I don't have to worry about any of this, and I don't have to worry about it going up and shredding my brain. So I'm kind of like the bionic woman. I've been made better and stronger. And he released me to do. He says, if you grunt when you pick it up, it's too heavy. He says, otherwise, go live. And that was really important to me.
Yeah, I was going to say that must have been a great day.
It was really important to me. And before I had that third surgery, my depression was lasting so long and I had like no energy. I couldn't do things. I got out of breath right away. And I thought it was because I was depressed and sat on the couch for, 2 years. And we found out from an ultrasound that my aortic valve was only operating at 40%.
Oh.
And that explained why I had no energy. And so he said, well, here's the deal. He says, we need to go in and we need to repair that. And I said, well, we're going on a girls' trip to Puerto Vallarta and I'm going to do zip lining. Is that okay? And he says, just, take your time getting up there, but sure. So I went zip lining, I went ATVing, we did all sorts of fun things. And I came home and he fixed me up. And you don't usually go into open heart surgery and come out feeling better than when you went in. But I did. It was wonderful. Like, I really didn't need therapy. They set me up for therapy, but I was stronger than when I went in. I could do more. I could walk more. I just had to do the usual 8 weeks of care around the chest, and then I see him once a year. I get CT scans once a year, and he blessed me and says, I'll see you next year. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's how do you think that you can use your triumph as an example for others?
Because I've learned how to look at things differently. And so what I would tell folks is, with my background as a photographer, I found that you could have 5 people taking photographs of the same event or the same object, and you would get 5 completely different sets of photographs because everybody looks at things different. It's kind of like when you get witness statements for crimes and accidents, and people are like, well, why do they all sound so different? It's because everybody saw something different. So I taught myself to find the good in everything. It's not always easy. In fact, it's hard and it sucks, and sometimes it takes quite a bit of time. But I've also been on that end where I didn't know if I was going to wake up, if I was coming out. And I saw that with my husband. He had 2 open heart surgeries that I didn't know if he was coming out of. He was so sick when he went in. And then when he passed, I found him on the floor, and he was still alive. And I got to say goodbye in the hospital, but not, he fell asleep on, and never woke up. And I thought, okay, I can worry about the day that happens to me, or I can worry about, I woke up today and this is what happened today. How can I see the good in it? And the good in letting him go was in the fact that he would never have been himself again. He would not have been able to communicate. I don't know that he'd ever been conscious again. And we made the family decision that he would have hated that. And we did it. His wish was do everything you can do possible. And we talked to the doctor, and he says, we've done everything. He said, so the good for us was we released him and allowed him to be free. And he's still here. My roommate kind of gets freaked out, but he's still in my home. I hear him walking sometimes. I mean, he's here. He's taking care of me. He's watching over me. It'll be 5 years in January, but he's still here. He still looks over me. I planted a tree with his ashes in the backyard, so he is always with me. He's here. So, and he's able to be here because we were able to set him free. Otherwise, he'd be trapped in his head. And although he wasn't a very outgoing, communicative person in a lot of ways, that would have been hell for him to not be able to take care of himself and to communicate what he needed. And I mean, we wouldn't have been able to keep this house. There's no way. This house is not set up to be main floor living. So he'd be living in the kitchen in a bed.
Yeah, not ideal.
No, or he'd be living in the living room on a bed. And he was such a cerebral man, and he was very brilliant in what he did. And to not be able to do that anymore would have just been hell for him. And to not be able to travel to see his parents, to, by then his dad was in hospice, and his dad was in hospice for 5 years. The men in his family are just amazingly strong people, and so are the women in his family. But I took that perspective that I can control how I react to things. I can't control everything that happens to me, but I get to control what goes from there, at least up here.
Yeah, it's nice when you can move into a space and not. It's nice when you move into that space of being able to make a conscious choice rather than being wrapped up in the of the emotions and the trauma of the experience, because that's when you get stuck.
And that, I was stuck. That's where I was stuck in my depression, is I felt like, I'm a woman of faith. I felt like I had been abandoned by God, that I had been abandoned by... I didn't feel abandoned by my husband. He was always so supportive, but I felt very alone. I didn't feel like anybody could understand. And I think what we need to understand is that our trauma is not someone else's trauma, but our triumph can be their triumph. And we can be an example, even if nobody knows what's going on with us. The fact that I woke up today, I was able to come downstairs, I'm able to do this. I'm able to go out later and interact with people. I'm able to talk with people. So just my being here present today means I'm going to have an effect on someone. And I try to do those little things, open a door for someone whose hands are full. Just that little bit of kindness, maybe, you don't know, that could be the highlight of their day. Smile at somebody. I call it my superpower, but I'm very good at helping people feel valued and appreciated. And one of the things I started doing after my first surgery is I started texting the people in my life that I love them every day. And over the last 11 years, that has grown. I now have everybody in my life that means something to me, I text them every day. I love you. Sometimes I send them silly memes. Yesterday was Wednesday, so they got the camel hump day and my I love you. And that list has grown. It takes me now probably between 10 and 15 minutes daily where I text individually. And if you're watching this, if you're listening this, if you're feeling alone or you just want to be part of my I love you day, I would love to do that. I don't know, Wendy, if you want me to share my email address or how.
That'd be great. Yeah, or we can pop it below, but if you want to mention it, that's fine.
If you just want to email me, Linda at lindaMarieWilson.com, and just say, love me text, and give me either your phone number, or I can send it to you on WhatsApp, or if you're on Messenger, that's how I do most of them, is text, Messenger, and WhatsApp. And I'm happy to add you to my list. I actually have a couple people I have never met that we interact that way.
Nice.
And I even have some guys that, it's not in a sexual way. It's just very much I want you to know that you are loved and appreciated. And I've gotten to know people I didn't know very well doing this. And so now I think if I count it, it's probably close to 70 that I send on a daily basis.
Wow. Do people message you back?
Yeah. And I'm not doing it to get messaged back. I'm doing it because it makes me feel good to let someone know that they mean something to me.
Yeah.
That's what it started with. And I don't want to die and not have that expressed. So I try to do it every day. I'm pretty good at 3 days a week because it's gotten pretty long, and we are in amazingly different time zones. So I have to remember that if I'm doing it at 9 o'clock in the morning, I might be 3 in the morning somewhere else. I don't want to freak them out, but yeah, it's from Hawaii to Canada to the UK to I believe one of the gentlemen's in India. All different faiths and backgrounds, and it's from my heart.
Energetically, it's such a fantastic thing to do.
It makes my day. And there are times when it's like 7 o'clock at night and I remember I haven't done it. And so I go ahead and do it. And, my friends on the East Coast, that's, 9 o'clock sometime, and I just tell them, I said, you don't have to answer, shut your phone off. If you shut your phone off, I don't expect people to answer, but I would say 90% of them do. And it's just amazing.
Yeah.
And there are people I met at a retreat that we bonded together so well. There are people that I met in my professional and personal development community that I'm a part of. They're my friends, family, and then a couple of people I've never had the pleasure to meet, but they are important to me because they reached out and they said, I would love to receive that. I said, okay, let's do it.
That's great. I love it. I love it.
I love it too. I didn't think I had it in me, but it's fun. It really is. It's fun. And I don't expect a response back. I want people to know that they're loved and valued. We're here for a reason.
Knowing what you know now, with that experience it is that you had when you went through hospital and you were isolated, you didn't have that sense of touch or connection. What would you say to people who are in a similar situation?
To keep going. And I know it's hard for us women, but reach out and ask for help. Especially in my age group, I'm 60. We put ourselves last. And we need to remember that we can't take care of who we take care of or the things that are important to us if we don't take care of ourselves as well. And so I would really remind you all, self-care, and it doesn't have to be anything huge. If you need 3 minutes to go step into your backyard and just have a little bit of peace, or if you're at work and you need a few minutes of peace, I used to, when I worked in corporate, I used to go like for a 5-minute walk around the compound outside, weather allowing, just to clear my head. I'm not encouraging smoking, but if you're a smoker, you go outside to take your smoke break, maybe step away from the smoke door and the colleagues and get some time just for you. I've been known to go hide in the bathroom at work for like 3 minutes. Just, nobody's going to bother me in there. Or if they do, they're just going to have to wait. you know, what I did for my job was not, nobody's life depended on it. It could wait, and I could take 5 minutes but I've also been on this journey since 2008 of personal and professional development. And so I have formed these habits for somebody just starting new to recognize or to admit that you're in a place where you might need that kind of help. Reach out. There are services that you can call if you don't feel you've got anybody close enough to you to talk to. In the US, we can dial 811. That's a mental health hotline that they've just started.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, and just don't feel that you have to carry it all yourself. We are not the be-all, the end-all. If we're taking on other people's problems, someone's going to have to take on ours. And we just have to learn that it's okay to ask for help. And if your family doesn't think that's okay, then step outside that and reach out. Because it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny how difficult it can be to reach out for help sometimes.
I mean, we reach out for the little things. You come home from the grocery store and you ask the kids to help unload the car.
Yeah.
And they whine and they moan and they complain, but they do it. Value yourself as much as you value the groceries. Or if you're asking for help to take the trash out, value yourself at least that much. And say, I need a little bit of help here. And definitely if you're in the US, dial 811 and just say, I need some help. I need an ear.
Yeah. Yeah, I really think it's part of the recovery, the ongoing recovery journey, is that there's going to be some point where you realize that you can't do it by yourself and you're going to need to ask for help from other people.
Yeah. And when you're on like for me, I mean, physically, I had to ask for help. I mean, I didn't have, my family picked up the ball, but physically, there were things I wasn't able to do. I couldn't drive for 8 weeks. I couldn't, because that puts stress there.
Yeah.
And so when you're in those situations, when you're in the hospital, you let them help you. You push the call button when you need something. Use that mentality. And for those of you that have been blessed to never have to be in the hospital, God love you. I'm blessed to have 2 very, very good hospitals that I've used for my stuff. And having top-notch physicians to take care of me. But I also realized that I am white and I don't have a lot of the roadblocks that the women of color face. My husband had excellent insurance. So I know that that's a stumbling block for a lot of women. Especially
Yeah, the
if
health
they're on their
system.
own.
Yeah, it differs all over the world.
Yeah.
It's just,
And here the system's broken.
yeah, yeah.
But
Ours isn't as broken, but it's getting there.
yeah,
It's
we can,
definitely
as
getting
humans, we can break a whole lot of things. And it's much easier to take care of it than it is to repair it.
there for sure.
You know, you take care of
The
your car, you know,
yeah, it's
we have
it's
to learn
it's
to value
interesting.
ourselves a lot better.
That's definitely the starting point, isn't it?
Yeah. And
Because
working on yourself.
without that, you're never going to ask for the help.
No,
So there
because a lot
has
of
to
times
be,
we feel we're not worthy.
yeah,
And
it's
I
that
would,
really is
yeah,
a good starting point.
you're worthy. You really are. You mean something to someone somewhere, even if you feel that you don't. There is someone waiting to meet you that needs to know you.
Mm.
So you are very worthwhile.
I think that is a good note to close on.
Okay. Thanks.
Linda, thank you so much for your time and thank you for sharing your story. It's one that people don't often think about, but it's so relevant. And we hear about all the other big stuff all the other time, but this is just as relevant. It has a detrimental impact on an individual, and it can make it very difficult for someone to manage. So I'm really pleased that you have shared the story of what it is that you have been through, because it gives another understanding of trauma and its impact.
Well, thanks for having me. I hope people got value from it. And again, if I can help in any way, reach out to me through my email. I'm
Yep, and
happy
I'll
to.
pop it below the
Okay.
video.
And I'm happy to reach out and see what I can do.
Great. Thanks, Linda. Take care.
You too. Thank you. Love you.
Bye. Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm going to take that.
Please do. Please do. All of you. From my heart. Love you.